She's a breast cancer survivor, an event that she says changed her life for the better.
I am empowered by the accountability. It was a game changer. If I can change the way that I think, the way that I have, the outlook on life, my life will be changed. And so training your brain to see things as they could be, but feeling like they already are that way.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Better Business, Better Life. I'm your host, Debra Chantry-Taylor, and I'm passionate about helping entrepreneurs lead their ideal lives by creating better businesses. Because as I always say, life is too bloody short. As you know, I'm a certified EOS implementer, an FBA accredited family business advisor, and a business owner myself with several business interests. I work with established business owners and their leadership teams to help them live their ideal entrepreneurial life using EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. I use this podcast to share practical tips and tools about how to use EOS in your business and your life to get more of what you want. And my guests come onto the podcast to share their journey and how EOS has changed their life. Today's guest says that her favorite job was working in a dental manufacturing business, helping them achieve and maintain their ISO certification. She's a breast cancer survivor, an event that she says changed her life for the better. And she's been a process expert working for many years with many different businesses, helping them to achieve their certification and get their processes in check. She's going to share with you how overcoming breast cancer changed her mindset and her life, plus how using simple tools like EOS can really help you get more of what you want from your business and your life. Tricia Drake is an EOS implementer, which in her words is a fancy name for business coach, teacher, and facilitator. Welcome to the show, Tricia. Great to have you here.
Debra, it's so nice to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Hey, so we've been having a quick chat before we came on the podcast, as I always do with my guests. And you were telling me a little bit about your story, which is quite an interesting one, because the way I like to summarize it is that you became the process queen in terms of all things process before you got to be an EOS implementer. So why don't you just take us back a few years and tell us your journey to get to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I was 19 years old, I lucked into a job at a dental manufacturing company. And what we did was became ISO 9001 certified. And throughout that process, that was my job to keep us certified in ISO 9001. And I don't know if it was from that job, like if I already had that innate ability in me or not, but I found that I absolutely reveled in that. All of the operational systems, the processes, the procedures, the training that went into getting certified, as well as just actually running the business. And I absolutely loved it. It was, honestly, I'll tell you, it was one of my favorite jobs that I've ever had. I was there quite a few years, went through so many audits and those type of things, but I absolutely loved it. And I really came to just that kind of became my niche, right? That operational efficiencies and processes. And throughout my career, that's the field that I went into. It didn't matter really what my title was. It didn't really matter what industry I was in. My job really centered around making sure that the business and the people in it were really running efficiently and running on the systems and the processes that we had.
Okay. And so that was how you started off getting involved in that process thing. But obviously you're now an EOS implementer. So what took you on that journey? Because that's quite a shift from being, process driven to not that EOS is definitely about processes, but there's a lot more to it. So what attracted you to EOS?
So I was working with a mindset coach, a very powerful mindset disruptor, and he wanted to scale his business, build his business, scale it. And we were trying to get some processes in place and kind of get the back end part of the business going. And what we found is he was working with quite a few businesses across the country. And in one of the mastermind groups that he had a couple people everybody was really successful, right? But a couple people were just knocking it out of the park. And we were like, what's different? Tell us your secret. What are you doing? How are you scaling? All of these things. And what we found was they said, oh, well, we run on EOS. And me and the owner of that company were like, well, oh gosh, we don't know what EOS is. Tell us more. And so we started reading the book Traction. got kind of hooked up with an implementer who gave us the fastest focus day I've ever had in my life, that gave us the gist, that foundation that we needed to really understand what EOS was and what it could do. And so we started working on that, started, getting all of the VTO and all of the EOS tools going for his company. And it really just took off and just absolutely amazing success for him. And so then I thought, this is a great system, right? So I started implementing with another company that I was working with as well. And through feedback that I got from that team, the owner of that company had pulled me aside and said, "Wow, you love this stuff. Like, you're really good in front of people. I can't believe what you just did for our team, right? Trying to figure out our 10-year target and where we want to go and really starting to solidify us as a team." And then back of my head, I'm like, "Oh, well, that's awesome." And I will tell you, I have always wanted to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher, kindergarten teacher, like first and second grade. So she dealt with really little kids. I don't know how she did it, but I always wanted to be a teacher. And it just never came about. And recently I thought, oh my gosh, I'm a teacher, right? I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, I'm a facilitator, but I'm a teacher. I'm teaching people tools. I'm helping them build their businesses. And so back to the other owner telling me, how great I did. I thought, I love to do this, and started looking into the franchise and just thought that EOS as the simple set of tools that it is, right? That really complete set, pairing that with the expertise and the experience and my abilities and the process and efficiencies and stuff like that, it really kind of makes the powerhouse how I can really teach the EOS system to the best of my ability to really help people just get whatever they want. Obviously, it's all about them at this point. But so that's kind of my journey. I took a leap of faith, in my abilities and the EOS process that they have to become an implementer. And again, one of the best decisions that I've ever made.
Yeah, now that was back in 2023, wasn't it? So it's been a
It
couple of
was.
years now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about, is there I mean, obviously EOS is a very simple set of tools. And yes, we're teachers, but we're not teachers in the academic sense. We're teachers more from a practical, pragmatic sense and being able to share some of the experiences that we have. Is there a particular tool that you absolutely love in EOS that's been like a game changer for your clients?
Yes, definitely. So I would say the two tools that I actually like the best because of how they clarify everything. So the two tools would be the accountability chart. That's one of the first things that we do, with our clients, and really just clarifying those roles. And one of the reasons I really love it is one of my clients, we were working through that. And during the accountability chart activity, as we're figuring it out with our clients, right? You put, after you've solidified structure and roles, you put the right people in the right seats. So you're dealing with that leadership team and everybody's, oh, let's put the right people in the right seats. And this one particular client at the end of the exercise, we're asking people, do they get did they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity? Those type of questions. And one of the gals on the leadership team, she was in tears. She was so emotional, and she just said, "I don't think I have the capacity. I'm not really sure I'm doing a good job. I'm not sure I'm in the right role. I'm very nervous right now about admitting this." And she was so vulnerable. And, so we talked through it, and no one's getting fired today. That's not what this exercise is about, which always makes people a little nervous. But um, yeah, just her being able to be vulnerable with that, to say, look, I probably need some help, right? To make sure that I'm in the right role and I have the capacity. And 30 days later, when we met up again, she was a totally different person in the room. And I asked, what's different about today? Something's different. And she said she loved the accountability chart. She figured out what her roles were. She built out the rest for the rest of her department, and everybody was very clear. It clarified so much for her. And she just said, I'm empowered. I am empowered by the accountability. She's like, it was a game changer. She was a totally different person. And just seeing her change after 30 days, she knew she had the capacity. She knew what she was doing. And I love that. That's one of the best stories. She's an amazing person and has just continued to grow. And I love that.
I know that we always use the phrase, clarity creates confidence. And I think that's what the accountability chart does, right? It gives real clarity about who is doing what they're going to be held accountable for. But it also puts the accountability onto them. So they actually have full reign to take accountability for that division and to work through what it looks like for them. I think it's a beautiful tool. It is interesting because I know that I have the same thing when clients come in, they are nervous that this is a traditional organizational chart. And if I'm not on the leadership team, then I don't have a job. And it's like, well, no, that's what it's about. It really is just about getting clear around where you add the most value to the business. That's the whole GWC thing, is where do you excel in a role that will add the most value to the business, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so that's the accountability chart. For those who aren't aware of it, as I said, it is an organizational chart that's kind of on steroids. So a traditional organizational chart, a box means a full-time seat, and all we have is a box with a name and a person's title. You've got no idea what they're actually really responsible for. Whereas the accountability chart, a box is not necessarily a full-time role. A box is a set of accountabilities based around a function in the business that gives people a chance to say, this is what I'm accountable for. And sometimes your name can be in a couple of boxes, but you never have one person in one box. That's my brief description of the accountability chart. It's a great tool for people to get a sense of who is looking after what, who's going to be accountable for it. And accountable doesn't mean doing. Accountable means you are going to be the person that's going to report back into the team in terms of getting that stuff done. Okay, you said you had 2 tools that you liked. What's the second one?
Okay, the second one goes hand in hand with the accountability chart. And I think I like it because of how, again, it can just create a lot of clarity, especially with people who own businesses, right? The entrepreneur, the visionary, and it's the Delegate and Elevate tool. I love teaching it. I love talking about it, and just really getting clarity around your own role, right? What your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you probably shouldn't be doing in your business. And I love it because it's an eye opener. As people go through the accountability chart, and just like you said, Deborah, you might be sitting in, your name might be in several of those seats, which is okay. And then as you try to scale or as you want to grow, you're going to realize you've got to let go of some of those. So the tool helps with that to really discover, is there something you're doing that you don't really want to do or that you're not even good at and you're trying to do it? And how can you make it better? And so I think it's an easy way for people to really see that on paper, that I actually, I hate doing the accounting. Why am I doing it? It takes me forever. If I could hire somebody, at a really reasonable rate, because there's so many people that do that, how can I free up my time to work on my strengths? And I see a lot of light bulbs go off when we do this tool, when we go through this exercise, people learning about the other people in their team, and people are saying, look, I'm so good at this and I love doing this, but I don't even do it here. So how can we take that, right, and put them in a seat where they're going to just absolutely love it. They're going to get it. They want it and all of those things. And so it's just that second step. And it's really one of my favorite tools to teach. I love it.
And again, it's a really simple tool. It's what I loved about all the EOS tools. It's a very simple tool, but it has massive impact. And just again, if people don't know what we're talking about, we basically go through and we look at all the things we do in a couple of weeks. We then categorize them into one of 4 quadrants. So the stuff that you love and are great at, the stuff that you like and are good at. Down the bottom is the stuff that you don't like but you're good at, and the bottom right is don't like and not good at, which means that the bottom right is an absolute no-brainer. If you don't like doing accounts, you're not good at it, you've got to find somebody else to do it. The one that I always find really interesting is the stuff that we don't like, but we're good at. I think that's the hardest sometimes to let go, because you kind of go, well, I'm good at it and I can do it. But it's about mindset in terms of if you're doing stuff that you don't like, you're going to be in a negative mindset while you're doing it, which means you're not in flow. You're not really enjoying what you're doing. And I think that's always been a bit of an eye-opener for me. It's like, actually, that's the stuff that when you do let it go, it really frees you up to do the stuff that you like and love and are great at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Which, a little bit of a segue here, but I know that when we talked offline, we've talked a little bit about mindset. So you're working with a very strong mindset coach there for a while, helping him with his business. Was he also working with you on the mindset stuff yourself?
Yes. Yes, 100%. Yeah, I've been through his program quite a bit. I've been with him now for, I think, for 5 years. And his program is amazing. It's something that really changed my life. Right. I met him before. Well, I've actually known him for a long, long time. We were neighbors. We grew up across the street from each other. And watching his transformation in in his life as well, and then what he's built with this new company, I was very intrigued about how and why and anyway. So working with him completely changed my life. I know that I did a lot of the hard work. So, it's me. I helped, but having his tools at my disposal, I mean, honestly, game changer for me. That was one of the times when I thought I am the one that's attracting all of these negative or bad things in my life, right? I'm taking what I have and I'm making decisions with all that I'm doing, and they're not the best. And I am the common denominator here. And so I thought, if I can change the way that I think, the way that I have, the outlook on life, it's going to be totally my life will be changed, because I saw what he did, and I thought, if I could just have this much of what he's received, with the goodness, I would be fulfilled 100%. And so I did a ton of work on myself, and it's not, changing someone from being a pessimist to an optimist, and, not changing the style of who I was, but really just changing the way that I see the world and how it can affect me. You know, Events happen, and it's my reaction that creates the outcome. So it doesn't happen, to me, it happens for me. There's so many little, buzzwords about that, but, he has a formula: E plus R equals O, right? The event plus your reaction to it is the outcome. And you can control that. There's so much we can't control in the world, but one thing we can control is our reaction to anything that goes on. And that was a catalyst for me, 100%. A couple years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had breast cancer, and I credit going through his program and really changing my mindset around what I can and cannot control with me curing the cancer. Obviously, I did go through chemo and radiation and all of that. But having a purpose in my life, getting up every morning with a purpose and being grateful for the things that were in my life, helped me get through that year of treatment. I remember when I had to call him and tell him. I got on it was a Zoom call, and it was him and his wife. She's an amazing person as well. And we were chatting, and I said, I have to tell you guys something. I've been diagnosed with cancer, and I don't know what it looks like. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to work with you guys. And I don't really remember saying this, but he tells me that I basically said, look, I don't have time for this. I do not have time for cancer. I just, like, let's get it done. I'm going to get treatment. I'm going to be done with it. I just don't have time for it right now in my life. But it was true. It really was. I didn't have time for that. That's not something that I had planned. But instead of just sitting at home and, oh, woe is me, and, oh, I lost my hair. And I mean, cancer's horrible. It is, right? I mean, it's horrible, and it takes so many lives, and it's just such a horrible disease. But changing my mindset around things happening to me. I'm not grateful that I got cancer, but I'm grateful for what it taught me and the experiences that I had, and what it meant to me overall, right? And the things that changed in my life that made my life even better. My relationship with my husband, my relationship with, my son and my husband's kids and my family. I mean, it just totally changed my life for the better.
I mean, I love the way that you've kind of approached that, because it can be absolutely devastating. And you do have a choice about how you respond to it, in terms of, yes, you can sit at home and feel very sorry for yourself. You can get on with it. One of my best friends over here also went through breast cancer, and she had a similar kind of attitude. And she's writing a book. It's called something like Finding the Sparkles in a Shit Sandwich, I think it's called. But it's like, looking for those positive things, because, at the end of the day, it's about how you approach it and how you react to it that you will make the difference in terms of how it ends up. Yeah. So do you use some of that stuff within the businesses that you work with now as well, in terms of that mindset work?
I really do. Yeah, I kind of try to embed as much as that as I can, with my clients, especially, when some people maybe they might seem a little closed-minded, or they can't seem to see past next week, and really opening your mind to all possibilities and knowing that you're the change, right? You're the catalyst to anything that you want to do. You're the driver behind it, and those type of things. I recently just read a book called The No Complaining Rule, and found that yes, it's about complaining and the lack of and what you can change, but it's about so much more. I mean, it talks about it's kind of funny how well it goes hand in hand with EOS. I was very surprised. Core values of a company, right? The culture of a company and how that can affect you as the owner, or you as an employee of the company. Also, tracking your numbers, what's important, how can people affect that? And so the stuff that I do with the mindset in my session rooms, I feel can really help people open up, just a different perspective to see it, instead of, again, it's happening at me or to me, really everything's happening for you. And how can you guide that? Especially right now, not to tangent or anything, but the way the world is right now, there's a lot of things, especially in the US, up in the air, and people are kind of freaking out a little bit. But how can you just step back and see how you can handle it, instead of, reacting, or, just freaking out about it, right? How can we take a step back and look at it and say, well, let's make this work for us? And how can we keep that going, instead of just falling into like, oh, oh, it's the economy, and oh, it's the this, and oh, it's the that, and nothing ever works for us. And so I try to do that a lot, a lot of breathing exercises. We do a lot of breath, a lot of stand up and stretch and clear your mind, and those type of things. And one thing that I've started that I love to share with people is, as people set their rocks, right? Our rocks are 90-day goals for the company. Is we say them, not I'm going to do this. We say them every day as if it's already done, right? So if we want to be $1 million company, it's we are $1 million company. That's the way it is. And so training your brain to see things as they could be, but feeling like they already are that way, if that makes sense. A lot of affirmations, those type of things.
The whole NLP thing, isn't it? It's like you have to actually imagine winning the race before you can actually do it. It's not just a case of thinking you can, but actually putting yourself in the position of already having done it. I think that's really important. And I think that, you're right. In the current environment, there is so much going on that people can get panicked by it. They can get freaked out by it. But in reality, some of the greatest businesses were born out of tough times, were born out of, negative times. It's just really how you approach it. And as you said, I love that E+R=O. So, the event and how you react to it is going to give you the outcome that you actually want.
Yes.
So give
definitely.
me a couple of examples of clients that you've worked with, and what EOS has done for them in their business.
Okay, great question. So I'll start with the one that I say is not a success story yet. But what I love to track sometimes is my aha moments with EOS. I met with a client a few weeks ago. We were doing a quarterly meeting, so it'd been a bit since we saw each other, and getting into the session room and starting with, hey, let's see where we're at, on our rocks. How did you guys do with your 90-day goals? Did you finish them? And it was a little dismal. It was 20%, completion rate, which is it was sad. I'll tell you, it was sad. And the whole atmosphere, the whole feeling in the room was just like, oh my gosh. And it was, oh, we suck and this is horrible. And I was like, wait a minute, right? I mean, yeah, live in that for a second, because we don't want to ever do that again. But, let's talk about why. And really with them, it's funny because we talk about how EOS is not a magic pill, right? It's not a silver bullet that's just going to do everything for you and make everything happy. And one of the guys in the leadership team said, I actually didn't think you were serious about that. I thought EOS was a magic pill and that it was just going to happen. And I just said, this is the leadership team, right? That's going to make this happen. These are your goals. You just have to continue to focus on them every single day, right? A little bit more of that mindset, right? This is where we're going. This is how we're going to get there. but you got to think about it and you have to do the work. It just isn't going to magically appear. And so that was kind of an eye opener for me. And I think as well as them, for them to finally say, oh my God, oh my gosh, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We should have been working on this a little bit harder. And so I know this next quarter is going to be absolutely amazing because they're going to be working a lot harder on all of the goals that they have. And the new stuff that they've made, a little bit of refocus, re-energize on where the company is going. And I think for my other clients, a lot of it is that, it's probably why I like the accountability chart so much, is because most of my clients say that's the one thing that's helped them so much bring clarity to their roles, and really seeing people dive into what they're supposed to be doing and not worrying, to the point where it's affecting them, worrying about anybody else and what they're doing. We all know what I'm supposed to be doing, what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody else, it's clear on that. And seeing that is amazing. As well as like level 10, their level 10 meetings, their weekly meetings. All of my clients say number one thing that helps could be, I think because it's the traction, right? It's that repetitive consistency, that heartbeat, that cadence, whatever you want to call it, being able to just have undivided attention of everyone in the room for 90 minutes a week and getting all of that stuff solved. That's what they love the absolute most. And gosh, I don't know, I could go on forever. There's so many examples of, them saying, I've had all this stuff in my head this whole time. It's so nice to say it out loud and tell the rest of my team, this is my huge 10-year target, that big, hairy goal that I've been keeping a secret because I didn't want to scare anybody. And now I know it's out in the open and we're all going in that direction.
I think really important, though, some of the things you mentioned there. I mean, the level 10 meeting is definitely a game changer in terms of having, as you said, not only the time, but the structure and the discipline to actually review how things are going and really make decisions based on, cold, hard facts and what's really going on, as opposed to a little bit of not quite sure, we'll have a go at this. But I think the 90-day, the quarterly reviews, I think that's probably one of the most powerful things about EOS. And I think when people first do the first couple of days, the focus day, the vision building days, they think it's like, great, we've got all this stuff now. Now we're ready to go. Everything's going to be fine. That's the magic silver bullet. We're all sorted. But it's the checking back in again every 90 days and learning from the mistakes that we have made, because this is what I always say to the clients. We're not there to point fingers and take blame, but it's more about, okay, what can we learn from this? Because like you said, you've got to look at it and go, we don't want to be here again next 90 days. So what can we do differently to ensure that we actually do it? And I think that is just it's a great, I had a company that I work with, I have a shareholding in it. And when they did their first rock setting, they insisted on having 11 rocks. And I was trying to say to them, you're not going to get 11 rocks done. I've never in my entire life seen anybody do 11 rocks. Oh, but we're different. We're super smart. We're super onto it. We're different. It's like, okay, well, I have to let you go with it if that's what you want to do. And so we came back for our first quarterly and I asked them how the rocks had gone. And they said, oh yeah, no, we did really well. We got 3 out of 5. I said, we didn't have 5 rocks. We had 11 rocks. Oh, no. We decided to change them. It was too many, so we could have taken it down to 5. It's like, no, we've got to be honest with ourselves here. Again, this is not about blame, but in actual fact, we achieved 3 out of 11 rocks. And that is the reality. So that's okay. What we need to do is say, well, why did that happen? And it's that ability to look back and go, what worked, what didn't work, to take that into the future, that I think really provides that traction for the leadership team.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So from an EOS implementer perspective, is there a particular type of business that you love working with?
So not on purpose, but I've sort of started to niche into the home improvement industry. A lot of my experience is with home improvement, remodeling, new home construction, multifamily construction. And so that construction industry, it was my network. It's kind of, I love it. I actually love it a lot. Because they're amazing people that work in the construction industry, but a lot of times they're masters at their craft and they're not masters of running the business. And so I feel like there's a really, really great fit with EOS and in the construction world, because it really helps people realize their vision, realize that dream. Why did they get into this business to begin with? And has to help them grow their businesses. So, yeah, I love working with construction companies, but I do have other clients in other industries.
Well, it's that whole E-Myth thing, isn't it? They're great at their technical expertise, but not necessarily great at sort of running a business. And I think what I found fascinating, as I speak to lots of EOS implementers and companies that are implementing EOS, is the range of different industries that EOS works in. Because people kind of say, oh, but my industry is different. And of course, they are all very different. But I think the thing that the misconception in some respects is people think that EOS is cookie cutter and it has to be, you're going to do the same with everything. So therefore it won't work in my business. But really it's just a framework, right? It's not designed to give the answers. It's designed to help you find the answers based on what your business actually needs. It just gives that framework to allow that to grow. Okay, so I always ask my guests to give me 3 top tips or tools that the listeners can actually take away, because I always believe that discussion is beautiful, but what can we do to actually make a fundamental difference? So what would you say your top 3 tips or tools are, Tricia?
Okay, so top 3 tips or tools. Number 1 would be networking. You know what? It's really not what you know, it's who you know. And networking, not just, right, oh, I need more clients, oh, I need more, more customers, I need to do all of that, but really that deep relationship building with people in your community, in your industry. Just because someone is a competitor doesn't actually mean that you can't learn something from them, or they might have, a good tip or trick for you. So networking to me is huge, in the aspect of relationship building, more than just looking for referrals. Networking, that would be my first one. My second one would be, looking at your company, something actionable that you could do today. If you are the owner, the visionary, the CEO of a company, and you feel like it's not going the way you think it is, or people aren't doing what you feel like they should be doing, it's top down. It's top down, and realizing that maybe hold up that mirror, and look at yourself for a minute. That can be a game changer for you to really say, oh, what am I doing that might be influencing the rest of my company? And so that would be tip number 2, hold up that mirror, and kind of look at it. And the third one would be hire people who are more experienced than you. Because my favorite tools are the accountability chart and the Delegate and Elevate tool, play to your strength and hire people who know more than you do, especially in the stuff that you're not very good at. A lot of people think, oh, that's a no brainer, but you'd be surprised how many people don't do that. Hire people that don't like to do, or sorry, that do like to do what you don't like to do, so that you can trust them, right? Let go of that vine a little bit and really help them be good at what they need to be doing, and help yourself be good at what you need to be doing, what you love to do, what you're best at, and spend your time in all of that. It's hard. That's not something that's easy for a lot of people, but we know that it can be done. We know that it can be done. So that would be number 3.
Yeah, and I think that's really great. Okay, so just to recap, so we've got networking, making real connections, real relationships. It isn't just about creating sales, but it's about really being part of your community. And as you said, we can learn so much from even other competitors, other people, peers. It's really helpful to have that. Is yes, as a company leader, and we do this a lot when we use the people analyzer with people that we have an issue with. You've got to actually genuinely ask yourself, is it them or is it me? Have I actually given them everything they need to succeed? Have I actually supported them in the way that they need to be? And similarly, as a company leader, I think you've got to think about, am I doing everything I possibly can? And sometimes I know I always think I'm a great communicator, but often it turns out I'm not. And so getting the feedback from your peers is the best thing, or from your reports is the best thing ever, to get an understanding of whether or not what you see is really what they see. And I think the organizational checkup is a great tool for doing that as well. As I find a lot of CEOs, a lot of visionaries will fill out the organizational chart, and in their mind, it's all going great. And then they ask their team to fill it out, and suddenly we have a slightly different picture. So it helps to highlight some of those issues that are going on. And then, hire people who are better than you, and also people who can fill your gaps, right? Because there's a lot of times when we're trying to do everything and we can't do everything. So do allow yourself to let go by bringing in the right people who can actually help you with that. Yeah. Beautiful. Hey, look, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you this morning. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to put your contact details in the episodes so that people can find you. But what's the best way to get hold of you, Tricia?
Really, it's a phone call. I love when people call me. So yeah, a phone call or shoot me an email. I'd love to chat.
That's perfect. Well, we'll make sure those details are in there. Hey, thank you once again for your time. I look forward to hopefully seeing you over in the US next year.
Yes, thank you, Deborah, so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tricia.